At least give me a link. What?
I mean,
How do you
see,
expect me to?
you could be lazy. I mean, you are being lazy.
All right,
Okay,
fine. You know what? Fine. I thought
here
I
we
thought
go.
I would get a little bit.
Here we go.
Yep.
To
Part
those
two.
who are just tuning in, sorry for that interruption. My brother used the microwave, and for some reason that cut out the internet. I,
Welcome to British Internet, everyone.
I hate this so much. Hi, Dio. I was gonna say let's just get stuck right back into it.
Sup, you beautiful bastards. Hope you're having a fantastic Sunday. My name's.
Oh my
Wait,
god, why are
what's
you
the
showing
bit
the
of the
finger?
I hope you know that counts as your second pun, Basil.
Why does it?
One left. I'm gonna count it. All right.
Well,
All right.
Wally's Pizza is fantastic.
Right. I'm guessing we're gonna move on from the world building question because that was
Yeah.
already taking up too much time.
That was a whole podcast of it. That's
Right. Okay. So next question, I want to get straight back into this for those who are just joining back. Sorry for technical difficulties. We're back though. I'm stopping my brother from eating altogether for the next week. He's not allowed, mainly because of this.
Oh god, I just noticed the authorial intent question. Oh fuck.
That was the next question. I'm gonna ask
So-
you now.
No, I shall ask
Oh,
with my
sorry.
two
Jesus.
hands.
All right. Ask
So-
away.
Hey Basil, right? I was
Yeah.
Hey Basil.
Get it over with.
How do you feel about authorial intent? Do you
Okay.
like adders? Adders?
I
a
know
word now?
what it's about. I've
Yeah.
brought up the idea during my own Dutch literature classes and English literature classes because nobody understands what it is in there. I put the author on life support,
Oh.
which sounds weird. It's like my own philosophy on the idea. It's essentially, you don't necessarily have to listen to what the author has to say, but when they say something, the least you can do is listen to what they then consider it, think about it for a good bit, and then decide whether it fits in with your personal headcanon or not. But do not automatically dismiss it because the author said it.
That's a very mature way of
Did
thinking
that make-
about it.
I personally would not like. I want to be able to have a say in what people think about my work, but I do also want to let them draw their own conclusions because I don't believe I should have the final say, but I do believe I should have a say.
That makes
Like-
sense. Only because I asked this only because like it's always bothered me, you know, like I get that reading like not writing is a form of art in a sense. So like with all art
Mhm.
it'd be the viewer or reader's perspective. And as such they're obviously not, if especially if there's no like record of like let's say the original meaning behind like a painting and
Mhm.
such. I'm like, all right, it's fair enough to like, what else can we do? We can only imagine what this artist was thinking and what we receive from. But I feel like nowadays with novels, right? With novels and writing, right, you
Mm.
shouldn't just come to your own conclusions without regarding what the author had in mind because it's a bit disingenuous. Because what's because it's all about the communication with what the author was trying to go for, right? So if they're trying to communicate a theme, right, you may get something out of that that's different, that's fine, but you should never disregard it. You should never say, "Oh, the author's intent doesn't matter; it's how I see it." It's one of
yeah.
specifically with writing.
Like I said, I just think have respect for what they have to say, but don't make it the be all end all of what you want to do. There are certain things where I will draw a line, though. Like, for example, if someone writes fan fiction about my stuff, which is fine, but they do something with my main character that is totally out of character for her, then I will definitely tell them, don't. Please don't, because this character actually means quite a lot to me,
Right.
and I would appreciate if you don't do this.
That's a perfectly fine reaction to that. Sometimes, you know, some people may really twist the character into, you know, fitting into their, like, sometimes agendas, or dare I say fetishes, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when it
Yeah.
gets really really bad, I feel like like, you know, writers themselves should be able to have a say and step in at that time. That's how I feel personally.
I mean that's I think that's a very mature point to say, quite
Mm-hmm.
honestly. And I oh my god, it's buffering again. Oh no, there we go.
I
It's
was
back.
about to cry. Just
Don't give me the heart attack.
Oh no, it's going again.
ah!
No.
Okay.
Oh lord. This isn't
It
fair.
still says excellent connection. I feel.
Bro.
All right.
Let's get let's try speed this
To
up, right? Because
continue,
I'm getting
'cause-
scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, could you basically give us a synopsis of what the Night of Ash, the Venomous Tempest, is about, as well as the Yilgren?
Well, Night of Ash, the Venomous Tempest is it's essentially about a dragon hunt. That's the entire point. But the so the story essentially starts out with Aaron going to pick up a new recruit for the Knights of Ash, because it's technically a military order commanded by the brother of the king, and they do need new recruits to hunt dragons because they are a, a continuous problem. Like
Right.
dragons includes stuff like cockatrices, basilisks, drakes, things like that. It's not just like six-limbed or four-limbed dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there he picks up Yara, who he takes as his apprentice, much like he did with Laris.
Yeah.
And eventually, during her training, they stumble upon the mess that someone else left behind, and it forces them to clean it up, not because of any special obligation or anything, but just because they feel like if they don't, nobody else will, and they might as well do it.
Okay.
It takes place during a period where so where the country that it takes place in, Anglovar, which is a smaller country on the island of Anglia, um, where it's sort of come to a stable point. It's been it's been about 20 years since the last civil war, in which House Dilfer, which still survived after their house got burnt down,
Mm-hmm.
um, after they tried to rebel against the crown and split up the country, and then eventually when that was stopped, the country became united under one flag again because of the current king, Valis Ebonblade, who is a bit of a conqueror. And I mentioned this in the story, and later on, it becomes kind of somewhat relevant again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not sure what else I can say. Sorry.
It's okay.
It's fine if you don't have to like force anything. That was a very
All right. The other thing, Yilgren contracts, they take place about 11 years after my books ended. It's mostly about Yara, and after a certain event in her life happens, and it just has to develop past that.
Mm-hmm.
That's mostly what that story is about. It's about so in the stories that I'm writing right now called Sad Quest, it's mostly just her confronting her emotions about the thing that happened, and then the other stories take place 2 years after. Sad Quest happens when she's 25. Yugen Contracts happens when she's 26.
Ah, okay.
And Yugen Contracts are more or less about her coming to terms with it and eventually moving on, whereas Sad Quest is more or less about her confronting how she feels and not really moving on, but learn to live with it.
Uh-huh.
Does that make sense?
Ah,
yeah.
it's like a coming of age
And
story, like in its entirety.
it's a coming of age in its entirety, except it's not really about like you become a more mature person. It's about her just dealing with how she feels.
Yeah.
Because she's an emotional mess that doesn't know how to communicate.
Yeah.
I find that relatable with a lot of people. Like, you know, something. Yeah, I can find Yara being quite relatable. Especially like, you know, she's like a At first I believed her to be like a pretty stoic fighter. You know, fucking. She seemed very badass to me. But you know, the more and more you explain about her, and more I look into these short stories, I kind of see she's you know, she's just like us. She's just like us. She's just a mess.
She's just a girl who's a bit of a mess and wears armor to kill dragons to keep her mind off of things.
Relatable, you know, everyday things. I like that though. So what I wanted to ask, thank you for that synopsis. Is this a passion project, or is this like is this just like for practice? You know, working towards something.
Night of Ash is definitely a passion project, whereas the short stories that I've written by the side are for practice because I want to be able to communicate stuff better. And what better way to do that than to just write?
Yeah, exactly. That exactly. Just throwing it out there, making it into a short story, whether you like it or not, it's perfect practice. Thank you. Yo, did I just lag?
Well, no, it's just
no.
We're
just waiting.
I
I
was just listening.
But yeah, no.
No, you were fine.
All right.
Stream's fine too.
All right.
Hi, Spiral.
The Lord of the Spirals. Oh shit, Gurren Lagann. You said you don't watch anime. That's I think he's referring to Gurren Lagann, anime about spiral.
I know this guy.
Oh.
I'm in a Discord with him.
Hi, Baz. Oh, but yeah, no, I was just saying the anime. Oh, I love the anime though. So good.
Ferris, we don't want this to lag again, please.
I definitely enjoy the animes, much like my other internet friends.
Christ. Said that.
I don't know how to transition from this. I'm just gonna.
So about Yara specifically, what inspired you to create Yara Stormcleaver? That's a meta last name. Last name.
She took it from her mentor.
Ah.
But because she technically didn't really have a last name, but
okay.
she was basically the idea behind her was originally just to create a main character that I could tell my story through.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout writing, I figured I want to be able to communicate how I experience things, specifically as an autistic. And because of that, I decided to make her someone on the autism spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
This way, I've seen this already with my mum, who is some of the stuff, and who can definitely see some of what I like portrayed as a person,
right.
and in that character, and I think it's very important to be able to share how people like me experience the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of why I wanted to do it, because not many people do that. Sure, there are people who have written autistic characters in media, but a lot of them are, let's say, lackluster, to say the least. And I'm going to sound like an insane person here, but the one person that hasn't done that is J.K. Rowling.
Oh, Jesus, calling her out.
Yeah,
I thought you were gonna talk about Sheldon. I'm like.
No, hold up, because this is the one thing I will praise her for, because she did something right.
Oh.
If you've seen the movie Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, it doesn't have a sequel. I don't know what you're talking about. If you've seen that movie, have you noticed something about the character of Newt Scamander?
No.
Have you noticed how he looks down? He avoids eye contact. He doesn't like being touched. He sort of zones himself out when he's walking through a crowd of people. He associates with animals. Yeah, those are things most commonly seen in autistic people. And in an interview with Eddie Redmayne, the actor who portrays Newt Scamander, he has said that during a conversation with J.K. Rowling in which she described the character of Newt Scamander to him, she described him as having, in his, she described him as someone with Asperger's, in his words. The term Asperger's is currently kind of deprecated. It's not really used anymore. I mean, people still use it, but in terms of it being referred to people with autism, it now just autism spectrum disorder because it's really hard to quantify under a name.
Okay.
But he said that he felt like she was describing a person with autism to him, and because of that, he decided to portray Newt as someone with autism. And it's mostly thanks to him that I really enjoy those movies because I can really relate to Newt.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to speak on whether anyone that's worked on that movie is on the spectrum because I don't know. I don't know whether J.K. Rowling has ever interacted with an autistic person, or whether her children have it or anything. I'm not going to speculate on that. What I am going to say is that she did a good job for once.
Right. For once, I feel like you have strong opinions on her other works.
No, Harry Potter's good. Her post writing comments, however, weren't exactly the best.
They were a bit tragic. I won't lie, especially those little bombshells she was dropping on us on Twitter.
Yeah.
What was that?
So
but
okay, you carry on.
I wanted to portray autistic people as people because oftentimes what you see in media is robots and aliens are very often autism coded. You might notice that they behave weirdly around people. They don't understand social cues. They don't understand why we do certain things, and those are things that are very common in autistic people. But you can't really make a robot autistic,
right?
Because they're a robot. They're not biological. And with aliens, it doesn't really work either because they don't have the same biology as us. So, and when I see that, most of my representation in media is dehumanizing because they're not human, and I kind of wanted to counteract that by creating my own autistic person that I could tell my story through, that I could share my experiences through, and that's personally very important to me.
Okay. All right. That's a perspective that I definitely wouldn't get from a lot of other people. So that's interesting. Thanks for that. But more specifically on Yara, right?
Yeah.
So the way you've written her, like the first, or from what we've seen in the first short story you wrote, quick reminder, you can read that in the description right now. Yeah, there's a Google Drive link. You can go read that.
There's a link available down there with all the short stories in the Yogran contracts. Sorry, I keep having to get the name because I changed the name myself, but I can't remember it.
That's fine. But yeah, so just like a comment on Yara, is she like a outgoing person, or is she like only like that, when she's drunk?
I mean, she gets drunk one time and you can see.
Yeah.
But outside of that, if by outgoing you mean she's outside a lot, technically yes, but like she doesn't.
Like personality.
She doesn't like.
Extrovert.
She doesn't like. No, she's not extroverted.
Yeah.
She doesn't communicate easily with other people. In fact, she has difficulty with that considering making eye contact. It makes her incredibly uncomfortable to look someone in the eyes for lengthened periods of time.
Yeah.
I only wondered that only because, like, in the scene, right, she was being very bold, right?
Yeah, that's a thing because alcohol typically does that to people, and I have never been drunk, right? I have never experienced something like that, but I imagine that a character partially based on me. She's not entirely based on me because, first of all, she's much cooler.
Hey man, you're pretty cool in your own right.
Yeah, true. But I mean, I don't get to hunt dragons for a living, so.
Yeah, sucks. That sucks.
But she just gets to let it all because she doesn't really have any inhibitions when she's drunk. That's why she immediately begins to hit on her best friend the moment that she gets drunk, because she's been drunk before in those 2 years that she's been away from home, but she hasn't been drunk around him because he wasn't there. And she gets drunk when he's nearby, and she goes all out.
So
also, the stream is buffering right now.
No. It is.
No.
Basil. So does that mean that if was she? I don't know how to phrase it, because like she was only she was like she made that decision to flirt with him because she didn't feel
Like it would be anything because she's drunk.
yeah. All right.
Okay, it's back. It's no.
Okay, yeah.
All right, cool. It's just the alcohol speaking. All
Yeah,
right.
it's essentially just the
Yeah.
alcohol speaking. I mean, or at least it's the alcohol making her want to say what
Mm-hmm.
So she does feel.
she does have feelings for him. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's
Okay.
why I just want that to be confirmed.
All
Right.
right. That's cool.
I mean, if you'd kept reading, you'd find out that she has for him.
Oh,
Listen.
that was a bit of an attack. We'll get on that. We'll get on that, and I'm gonna love it.
Yeah.
Uh, besides that, speaking of, I guess you mentioned two characters, or I mean, throughout the entire podcast, you've mentioned quite a few characters, but personally, who are your two favorite? Not one favorite character. Who are your two favorite characters?
Well, it's going to be Elena, which is a necromancer character, and currently the one of the pieces of representation in my book.
Mm-hmm.
She's lesbian,
Ah.
and Ashfellow the dragon, because I really like dragons.
I can tell.
But Elena is I personally like Elena quite a lot. You can show her on stream as well. That's the image I sent before.
Oh yeah. Damn it.
She is so Elena's backstory until a certain point. She was the most prominent healer on our she developed such skill that basically she could cure nearly any ill.
Right.
And you know that all seemed fine, and until eventually her girlfriend stumbled in on what she was doing, and she was Elena was using necromancy to heal people,
Mm-hmm.
because necromancy and healing magic are essentially adjacent to each other. Because what are you doing with necromancy? You're resurrecting a corpse.
Right.
It's just healing magic a little bit in the wrong direction. And she because the way that healing magic normally works is, let's say someone breaks a rib and it's broken to a certain degree, the old rib has to be removed and a new one has to be grown using healing magic.
Right.
And what Elena was doing is she was resurrecting the dead cells to repair the old wound, and then eventually, you know, because human bodies replace their cells regularly, those dead cells would be replaced by healthy ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're showing the wrong picture.
Yeah, no, actually, no, I was trying to get the picture, but then I realized all the image we have of Elena that I see is the body pillow, and
No, that's not. That's Julie.
oh, Julie, oh, shit.
Elena's
Wait, is it Elena's the one with the dragon, right?
is the one with the dragon skull.
Oh, okay, all right. I was about to get confused. I was all right.
Elena's she was subsequently ousted for what she did, and she was excommunicated from any and all magic schools and shit like that.
Yeah.
She wasn't allowed to attend any things that she could either teach others or learn more from. And through this betrayal, she eventually and the use of necromancy, because the thing about that is, the more you use it, the more likely you are to go insane. So she went a bit crazy, and both resurrected a dragon, which is already very hard to do, and because you have to use like metabolic energy, like what you produce when you digest food.
Mm-hmm.
You have to use that to use spells, and so she, in the process of resurrecting a dragon, killed a lot of people, quite a lot of people.
What are we talking numbers here? Units.
I haven't decided a number yet.
Uh-huh.
But it is quite a lot.
Okay.
And then with the dragon, she killed a lot of other people, and with the dragon together, she resurrected an army that she learned magic at, which is called the Spire.
Yeah.
And eventually, during that battle, she was killed. And 3 days later, she woke with 3 gaping wounds in her chest. Also, the stream is buffering again.
Yeah.
Okay,
Don't
no,
worry
it's
about
fine.
it.
It's
Yeah.
fine.
Don't worry about it.
So she woke up in a corpse cart with 3 stab wounds in her chest, which are the ones you can see as well.
Ouch.
So she was dead,
Uh-huh.
as in she still is dead. The god soul arrived before the god of death. He decided,
Mm-hmm.
your punishment is to not pass on. I have deemed you unworthy of death, and you shall remain in the world of the living until you have atoned for what you have done,
Mm-hmm.
which was essentially resurrecting a dragon and killing a lot of people.
Right.
Yay.
That's
Uh, and so she was sent. She woke up in a corpse cart, and the guy driving the corpse cart. Oh god. Okay. The guy who was driving the corpse cart noticed, took out his axe, and beheaded her there on the spot.
Oh man.
She's fine.
Oh wait. Okay. Right. Yeah.
She's
dead.
fine because she
Yeah.
can't die.
Yeah.
So
She's
basically, he sees this. Fuck. And like she asks, okay, can you help me? Because this is kind of uncomfortable. And her head is placed back on her body. She heals the wound shut, and the only wounds that are on her body that she can't heal are the 3 wounds that caused her death.
Mm-hmm.
She's transported to the King of Anglia. She's bound to make sure that she can't do anything, and also death is technically a cure-all for anything. So she is no longer. And he decides, you're going to be locked up the prison that really makes sure that you can't escape, which is on a cliff like precipice outside of the city of Verdun in Nedervar, which is a vassal of Anglavar. And where she's locked up until my book happens.
Ah. Oh, okay. So it's like a
That
pretty
is
leading
an
up to
engrossing backstory.
I know this is incredibly shit, man. You're fully fleshing it out. I'm really invested in this so far. Jesus.
Sorry if I'm not talking about much too. It's just very
About her is, she is the sister of the woman that Aaron was married to before she died.
Oh.
So
Yikes.
now Elena kind of blames Aaron, and Aaron blames himself for that.
Mm-hmm.
I know that. But he is helping family. He sometimes goes to visit her where she's in prison because he does care.
Mm-hmm.
Since they are family by blood, not by blood, but like by marriage. Because her sister was married to him, and they kind of resent each other. Also, the stream is buffering again. Every time
Alright.
but
Yeah. So let's try and wrap this up then. Yeah.
Yeah, and Ashfellow, I've explained his character before.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
I guess let's. I feel like
right.
we've talked quite a bit about Side Quest already. You just to really end off the entire interview. What advice would you give to all the writers out there, listening to this podcast right now, people afterwards, just any writer out there who's struggling to build up a fantastic world like yours? What advice would you give?
Keep going. No matter what anyone says, even if they think it's the absolute worst garbage they've ever read, keep going, because you can always. A thing I like to say about art is the only artist better than you is the artist you will be tomorrow after you. And the only artist worse than you is the artist that you were the day before you made that. The same things goes being an author. If you write things, keep going, because the only author that's better than you is the one you will be after your next story, and the only author worse than you will be the author before you wrote that.
Oh shit.
That's good. I think
really
that
good.
especially applies to writing more.
Mm.
Personally, I feel, but they both apply really well, and I like that advice.
Yeah, I like that too. That's a good mentality to carry on working.
When you look at someone else's work, don't think they're better than you. Like, don't read a book and think, oh, I can never write something like this.
Mhm.
If when you see art, don't think I can never draw something like this. I'm going to outdo them one day.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that you know, I was thinking that's really good advice, shit, man. Thank you for that, though. Thank you. That kind of gives me a bit of inspiration as well to, with my writing and everything. But other than that, boom. Thank you so much, Basil, for coming on the podcast or live show. I still haven't. A round of applause for Basil, please. You can go support Basil on Twitter at BasiliskArt, and he also streams sometimes, also BasiliskArt. Do you want to say anything?
I should go stream again. Also, if you want to commission me, okay, because I genuinely like to do commissions, and also communication is key.
Yeah.
Brush your teeth. Dental hygiene is important. Hydrate.
Yeah, hydrate and wash your hands too. Freaking
Wash your hands. Toilet paper.
That too. Thank you very much for joining the 40 Fingers podcast. See ya, guys.
Wait, before you close it off, wait 1 second,
What?
right? If
What?
y'all are interested in submitting topics for regular interviews, please do suggest them. Yeah, I mean, we usually figure out something anyway, but it's nice, have a change of pace every now and then from a viewer's perspective.
So that is, if you do have any questions for us, God, I sound like a radio show. Jesus. If you do have a question for us, please tell us in comments or in the live chat, wherever you are messaging. You can even find us on our own social medias down in the description. But please tell us what you think, and tell us, what you'd like us to talk about, whether it be interviews or just our regular weekly podcast we do with the other two guys. But other than that, I must see y'all later.
Arrivederci.